Hello, gay men, and welcome to another episode of Coming Inside Out. I'm your host, Mark Dembo, and joining me from sunny California, my co host, Brian Janes. How are you today, Brian?
I'm good, and it is sunny.
Yeah,
It's
well,
in the
we're about
70s.
to. Well,
I'm going to the pool.
I feel like we keep having this conversation when we start off, and I want to say fuck you because we're about to get the blizzard of the century here.
Oh my God. I'm about to go lay out by the
I mean,
pool.
literally, we're supposed to get about 16 to 18 inches
Oh, dang.
of
That's a
snow.
lot. That's a lot.
Of snow. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. We need this winter to be over. Although hopefully, when all of you are listening to this, it'll be a few weeks from now and we'll be on the cusp of spring, I hope.
Yes.
It was so great having Alan Marion, the gay sex coach, on. I know we got a lot of really positive feedback from our viewers on that. And if you're listening to this and you haven't had the chance, I would encourage go back and take a listen because really covered a lot of great ground with Alan in our two-parter.
Yes. And we had a lot of people write in with comments and questions. So we'll have Alan back on at some point. And we'll
Absolutely
ask him those questions. So, yes.
Yeah. So continuing our hit parade of guests, we're really excited. Going to be a little bit different conversation today. We have one of our dear friends, Dan, joining us. Dan's story, you guys will get to hear, a bit about it. But he's followed the same path of so many of us, married, coming out later in life with kids. And Dan is just such a dear, dear friend. It was just really great to have a chance to open our mics and have a really great conversation with him.
Yes. And he's part of Gay Fathers Worldwide. That's where we both met him.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So we'll bring Dan on and get to hear about his story. And a little preview. We're previewing a new segment today, Ask Us Anything. So make sure you listen through. Love to know what you think. And something I hope we'll keep doing. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think, Dan, we've known each other, it's been a couple of years now, at least.
Yeah, 2-3 years.
Yeah. And some of our listeners may also know Dan. He is a very active part and member of our Gay Fathers Worldwide group. And, we really wanted to have Dan come on today because he just begged us and begged us. No, did it?
I was only asking one time.
No, I'm kidding. No, we're really thrilled to have you joining us, Dan, because not only you are such a wonderful human being, and I know along my journey you've made such a difference for me and so many other guys. But like all of us, you've got your own story, but common ground that we've all tread upon. So just tell us a little bit, whatever you want to share about your journey, how you got here, and we'll just kind of jump into this. Just we'll have some fun.
Well, interestingly, it all kind of started. The catalyst was prostate cancer for me. 6 years, a little over 6 years ago. My marriage was in the last couple of years of its life, and things were pretty rough with my ex-wife and I. We weren't not getting along, but we were just doing our own thing. And then I got a cancer diagnosis, and we had to make the decision around that same time to split after 30 years together, almost 28 years of marriage. And I had my prostate removed on a Friday. On Monday, we told our 4 kids we were getting a divorce. So that began a whole journey with me. 6 months later, I came out. Actually, 2 months after that, my wife moved out. 6 months later, I came out and started my journey. I actually worked with a group in Detroit that had a coming out together. It was on Zoom because it was during COVID in 2020. And that's what they called it, coming out together. And so that was the first time I said it. But, telling my ex-wife was the first person I told. And that was really hard. I have 4 grown kids, ages 31 to 24, 2 sons, 2 daughters, all launched, all living their lives in their 20s, and we're all working through now 6 years later, um, this new life as a family. We're still a family. We're just different. We had a lot of conversation this past week because I saw my 4 kids last weekend and for the weekend up north, and we talked a little bit about that. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
happy to be here and grateful for the ask.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Dan, we came out around the same time because I came out during COVID 2020 also. And you and I met in Saugatuck in 2014 or 2024. You
Right.
were my house dad.
Correct.
Is
Yeah,
that what they called it? A
That's
house
right.
it
dad?
was.
Right. Well, we were all in the same house
Oh,
together.
We
yes.
were. We
Yeah.
were.
We were.
Come
That
on,
was
Yes.
when
Brian.
I
We were
met
we were
Mark
we were
as well.
I know.
roomies. We were
We were
bunkmates.
roommates. Yes.
That was when I met Mark as well. I had talked
That's
with
right.
him many,
We
many
met in
times,
person. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so that was when the 3 of us actually met for the first time in real life, and
That's
there's
right.
just an instant connection with us, and we've
Yeah.
just been fast friends since then. So
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Gay Fathers Worldwide brought us together.
Did
Yeah. It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of my
So
best friends are guys that I have met through GFW. I don't even know their phone numbers. I communicate with them on video chat, on Messenger, or just video texting text messaging back and forth on
yeah.
Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a really important point, Dan, and I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on this whole idea of community, because for so many of us, and whether it's Gay Fathers Worldwide or other groups or other organizations, I know for me it has been finding that community that has been so key, and we talk about that a lot. We see that a lot. It's and I feel, and you love your, like, the community that I've been able to form since coming out with other gay men, especially other guys that have been on our path, previously married, have kids. There's something really special about finding that community and building that community.
Very much so. We have that common ground. Our coming out journeys are all our own, uniquely our own. We have different relationships with our children. Some have no relationships with their families. I'm grateful that my kids have accepted me and continue to love me for the dad that I am. I'm grateful to have a wonderful, supportive relationship with my ex-wife. We're still parents together. We're still a family, the 6 of us, and I talk to her pretty regularly. We have to have regular communication in order to effectively continue to parent our children, even as adults. They need parenting, and
Yeah.
it's
100%.
the most important job in my life. And to find other guys like me who did all the things they were supposed to do, thought they were on the right track. They, kind of knew. I always knew I was different. That same age-old story my whole
Yep.
life. I mean, I didn't have a clue, but here I was with a full-blown Madonna poster on my bedroom wall at 16. But I didn't know I was gay.
Right.
Figure that. But again, I came from a really large family, lots of love and support. My siblings have been awesome as well, and I'm so grateful to be surrounded by love and acceptance and support. Yeah, and I'm the token gay guy in my family, and it's fun because I love to get picked on, and they pick on me, and it's all because they love me and because they accept me, and they know that I can take a joke too, and
Yeah.
and my kids even too. They're just really great. So I live such a life of gratitude.
Yeah. So in your your journey over the past several years, it sounds like, and I know, you've got great relationships with your kids. You guys all do stuff together. Was there anything specific that you consciously did to say, hey, how do you make it work?
What I've learned is I've learned to set really good, healthy boundaries for myself on what I share and what I don't share. I've always been an overshare. I'm a classic overshare. I'm a classic overthinker and an overtalker. And what I've learned, especially this last year, that I've had a bit of a leveling up when it comes to this and sharing my private life. My private life is my private life. And I might share details or things about my private life to just a very, very few people. Um, I have done some dating. I've had a few relationships. I even lived with someone for a little while, um, and a lot of that was out in the open, and I kind of made that out in the open. It doesn't need to be. It's my private life.
Yeah.
And so that's been my biggest lesson. And I still have those aha moments. Those leveling ups still happen for me there, but I call it like fine tuning. Remember on the TV when we were kids, you had change the channel by hand.
Yeah.
Somebody would make you, usually the older brother would make you get up and turn the channel, right? So you change the
Correct.
channel, and then you'd have the wider focus where you kind of turn that one. But then there's another one that was like a fine tuning. That's what I'm doing now, 6 years out. I'm fine tuning those things. I have spent a lot of time working on myself, as we all do, and trying to reacclimate who I am now as a gay man, as a dad, as a father, as a brother, as a son, as a friend. I'm still the same guy. But I just happen to be my authentic self now, and it feels really freaking good to be able to say that I love my life. I have a wonderful home, and I've built a wonderful life for myself by starting from the ground up with a hard reset on my life.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
hey, Dan. I was just going to ask,
I
we talk about the oversharing. Don't you think part of that is like just the excitement and the celebration? It's like you're finally able to be this person you weren't for so long. And so the oversharing, when you look back, you're like, oh, it wasn't wrong. It wasn't bad. It was just, I was so celebratory and happy at the time that I wanted to like share that.
Yeah,
And then you look
exactly.
back later and you're like, oh, damn it. Maybe that was more for my inner sharing and excitement versus for everybody.
And I've had to be really careful about that, and in sharing my joy and my excitement about being able to truly be the man that I was born to be. But I've chosen different people to who to share that with. I'll share that with you guys. You guys are two of my closest friends that I've met in the GFW group. I'll share it with other good friends, close friends. But that's the kind of thing that I'm probably not going to share with my children. Not that I'm ashamed of it, but that they are still coming to terms with it. We're only 6 years out. They knew me for 30 years as this other Dan. And now they know me as my authentic self. And so they see those changes. They see the subtle changes, maybe even mannerisms or things that I say or places that I go and things that I do. But I've been pretty protective about that with them. And it's not to protect them from anything, but just my private life is my private life. So, but early on, absolutely, I was like, woo, waving my pride flag, go wave my freak flag all over the place. And I even said coming up, I don't want to be that way. But naturally, that just happened because I was so filled with joy and excitement about finally being able to just live my life the way I always thought that I would never be able to live it. I was going to go to the grave in the closet, and I was prepared to. I had resigned myself to that my whole life, and I had a wonderful life with my ex-wife and my kids. We had a great life together. I regret nothing of those 30 years. Now I have a whole new a version of my life, a new, not just chapter, but a whole new volume that I've started to write, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
I was going to take it to my grave too.
And Dan, I think the point about sharing and what you share, that also, well, first off, I think it's very common that we go through that woohoo, I'm out crazy phase, and not everybody does, but but in many ways, there's it's like you said, there's this pent up energy that we've been hiding, and some of it's sexual energy, it's mental energy, it's all of it, and suddenly stepping into feeling like you are living your real life, at least I know that's how I felt, you want to be able to share that, and then I think it's a matter of, right, to your point, what you choose to share and how you share it. One of the things I've said to my kids in the process, I was like, look, I am happy to share. I mean, I'm not going to go into intimate details, right, of certain things, but that aside, I've said to them, I'm happy to share anything that you would like to know. You know, don't
Yes.
be afraid. Don't feel that you can't ask me. At the same time, I'm not going to force it on you, but if you anything you want to talk about, and there have been times they'll kind of bring things up a little bit here and there. Before we hit the record button, I was just telling you guys, so last night our gay dads of New York group, we had a get together. We had about what was it? It was 9 of us, so really nice group. We had a really nice time, fun time out. We went out for dinner, and then we went to a club in Greenwich Village in New York, and we're standing there, and I look over by the door and see two friends of my daughters walking in. And I mean, and these are, I mean, these are our kids that I've known since they were 8, 9 years old. But again, I'm out. They know I'm gay. And it hadn't been for the fact that my daughter had some other plans, she would have been with them.
Right. Now, I have a question. Were you wearing your harness and neon jockstrap?
Not at that point. No, that came later when that came later when we went to the Eagle.
Oh boy.
But I saw it was fun. But the point is, like we kind of looked at each other. I was like, "Is this awkward?" They're like, "No, it's okay." We all hugged and like,
Yeah, they knew you were out, but they just never had seen you
but it's
be
yeah,
out.
but that's but that kind of thing, like living your life. It's like stuff like that's gonna happen.
Yes.
And
Yes.
in some ways, it feels good to be able to say, I don't have to hide. I don't have to hide this. I can be out in a gay and a queer space and be there with other people,
Mm.
some of whom
In,
may be
in,
your kids' friends.
in those early on days, I, was so filled with that exuberance and excitement that I never learned to walk. I just started running. I
Yeah.
was running and I was running and running and running. And I
Yeah.
made I fell down a few times. I got into a relationship right out of the closet that should have just been one night or a weekend. It became 9 months. And, then I was in a couple other relationships. I actually lived with somebody for a period of time. And I thought, what am I chasing after? I'm chasing after authenticity within myself. I don't need that in a relationship. And so I stepped back from that and
Yeah.
just let myself learn to walk,
Mm-hmm.
learn to hop along a little bit. And then I can make up some speed and hit my stride. And
Mm.
that just takes time. I went through my gay teens and my gay adolescence in about 5 years' time,
Right.
in my
Right.
20s. So
Right.
all that happened, and it had to happen because I needed to figure out who I am and what my tastes and my experiences were and all the things. And
Yeah.
now
Yep.
I'm just in this wonderful place of being content with myself and with who I am and who I've become and with the tribe of people around me. I've never had male friends except
Yeah.
for one or two
Mm-hmm.
people my whole life.
Yeah.
And my male friends are my homo friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just get each other,
Yeah.
and I'm so grateful for these people, these men in my life, because I have a lot of brothers, and I love my brothers. We have great relationships, but I was kind of always the odd one out, and I'm not. I kind of feel like I found the cool kids table, and they let me in,
Uh,
and that's who I surround myself with, the people who are at the cool kids table.
I have a question. Because a portion of our listeners are still in the closet. They sometimes write into the show or they'll post things on one of our pages, that they're in the process of coming out, they haven't come out. When did you have the aha moment of, holy shit, this is me, I am gay? And how long before you came out? Was it years? Was it months? What was the
Years,
process in this? It was years.
decades.
Okay. So you sat with that for a long time.
Yeah.
All right.
I came to terms with it in my late 20s, early 30s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
At that point, I had, three kids with a fourth on the way, a white
Yeah.
picket fence, a wonderful, supportive, loving wife, a great sex life, a great family life, trips and vacations and all the things that, we're building this life for ourselves and for our kids. And I realized who I was. So why would I mess that up? Plus, I was shrouded in Catholic guilt and Catholic shame, and I'm going to ruin the lives of these people if I come out. Plus, I've got a great life. Don't mess this up, Dan. And so I held it in, and I actually had a therapist in my 30s that I tried expressing some of these thoughts that I had. And his response was, "You have an unhealthy relationship with your father." I was trying to work through some things before my father died. And so a lot of my focus was on my dad, but there was an attraction to a friend. And it was like, wait, that's an unhealthy relationship with that friend. And you need to focus more on X, Y, and Z. It was more of a kind of pray the gay away. You're not gay. Those are just, those are wrong feelings. Well, then I just said, okay. So I shoved it back in the closet, put a big old armoire over the door, locked it up, and it sat there for 15 more years until the marriage started to fall apart. And we were now separated. And here I was alone in COVID and thinking, this is post cancer. This is my
Yeah.
life now. I got to figure out who I am. And I need to explore what this is. And that's how I framed it when I came out to my wife. I said, I've struggled with this for the better part of my life, and I need to figure out what this is. I don't know. I don't know who I am. I need to sort this out. And she showed me incredible grace and said, "Oh, I'm so sad to hear that you've gone all these years and hid that secret and never talked to anybody." And I was in tears. We're both in tears. And I'm so grateful for that response from her. And, we worked through a lot of difficult situations until finally we said enough, and we forgave ourselves and forgave each other and moved on. And now we're in a good place. But it was really hard because of the guilt and the shame.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that, if you look at, for many guys coming out later in life, been married, there oftentimes is some kind of, for lack of a better term, I'll call it like a trigger event, right? Dan, in your case, it was the cancer. In my case, kind of, I think the turning point for me was seeing my parents dealing with health issues, and that kind of got me thinking about my own mortality. Brian, I know for you, it was
my divorce.
You got divorced, and then you didn't get divorced because of your being gay, but that kind of served as a trigger. And I think, and I remember talking to my therapist at one point, and saying, kind of saying to him, why, I'm trying to figure out, like, why at this point in my life, right? I've lived a certain way all my life or most of my life for so many years, repressing it, hiding it from myself. Why did I suddenly get to the point where I said, I can't do this anymore? And, he pointed out, there's like that something triggered, but he said, think about it this way. It was always there. Think about a pot of water on a slow boil. It's just kind of sitting there, heating up gradually. And then suddenly
it hits 212 degrees.
It boils over. And then that leads to, right, okay, I can't live this way anymore. I have to come out. And then so many of the things that we've been talking about, right? That gay adolescence, that exuberance, that and there's been, I'm trying to remember which book it was in. I'll have to see if I can find it. Not The Velvet Rage, which I know we've talked a lot about, but there was another really good book about coming out process that talks about exactly this. It's like that early phase of coming out, and you want to scream it to the world and you want to shout it from the rooftop. Now, I know that's not true for everybody, but for many of us, that certainly is.
Hey, Mark, we met at Saugatuck. Dan and I were both out at the time for several years.
Yeah.
You were just in the process. That was one of your first like
That's right.
experiences
When we
in a
first
group,
all met,
right?
yeah, so when we
So
all
was that
first
kind of your
met in
catalyst?
person,
That your
well,
catalyst for
it
what you
I,
did,
I mean,
or
well, I was already out to my wife at that point. And we had been trying to figure, I mean, at that point, I had been out to her probably for about 9 or 10 months. Yeah, because that was in September. Um, I had come out to her the previous December, but we were still trying to figure out what our path forward was. Was there a path for us to stay together in whatever form that relationship might look like? So what Saga Talk, that experience, going back, Dan, to your point about the community and the friendships with other men. I mean, you and I had already connected. You know, we hadn't met in person, but we knew each other. There were several other guys I had met and really had that. But that weekend of being together with 30 some odd other gay men in just sharing our stories, being able to be totally vulnerable and open, it was the turning point in that I knew I have to live fully as who I am. And it was shortly after that that we did decide to separate. I think we both knew it was going to be heading in that direction. Um, but that process also allowed us to get there with a lot of grace of kind of going through those steps and then realizing, you know, she even said, you know, it's like you have to live as who you are.
It's so healthy.
Yeah.
yes,
And not everybody has that experience. We all,
Yeah.
we know of our friends who are still banished by their families, or
Mm-hmm.
still, being held with shame and disdain by people that they love, their
Yeah.
own children even. And again, I'm just so grateful that I have a good, it's always a work in progress with all of our children, no
Yeah.
matter gay, straight, bi, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to tend those gardens,
Yeah.
and and it's still a work in progress for me. Still
It
trying to
is.
feel my way through it, and be
Absolutely.
respectful to my kids of that they're on a journey too, that they didn't ask to join, and they are, and they've handled it beautifully. So we're just grateful for that. Working through the family dynamics, kind of post coming out, are challenging at times. I do things with my kids. My ex-wife does things with the kids. We haven't done much together with the kids, but babies will be coming, and more marriages will happen, and those things will naturally take place. And we have a good foundation to start from
Mm-hmm.
moving forward. But again, I'm very private about my private life with
Yeah.
them as well, because I put those boundaries up for myself. Those are things that I don't share with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
so let me ask both of you this question because we've been talking about shame and guilt. So you had that when you were married. Now you're out. Do you have shame and guilt today over things you're doing today? Do you have shame and guilt over situations, circumstances? Are you living pretty freely at this point, or is it still a work in progress?
It's always a work in progress. It's become less of a work in progress as time goes on. I'm very much living out and free and shame free. There are times when I find myself, just for the sake of maybe personal safety, or just being mindful of an environment that I might be stepping into, and trying to not necessarily, wave the flag necessarily, but I'm totally my true authentic self. I'm a pretty amicable guy, and make conversation with people, and I've gotten to a point where I don't care what they think about me. What a fellow gay dad here in this group taught me is, what other people think about me is none of my business, and I adopted that mindset, and and that's become kind of one of my personal mantras, because it's none of my business what they think about me. I'm going to lead with love, and I'm going to lead from a place of authenticity, and this is who I am. And you don't have to like me. I've got lots of friends. I've got a wonderful family. I've got the people who love me know that I love them and they love me. And so I don't need to have validation from some stranger. I used to feel terrified to talk to people. Am I going to sound too gay? Am I masculine enough? Am I all right? I'm wearing a wedding ring and I've got these kids in tow, so nobody's going to think that I'm gay. And I wasn't fooling anybody, as I've learned, because I'm the same guy I've always been. The guy that is I've always been articulate. I've always been comfortable in my own skin. I just didn't know this part about me for a really long time. And then once I did, I hid it and pretended like it wasn't there. And because I didn't know how to deal with it, I thought it was going to destroy my life. This wonderful, incredible life that I had built with these humans who I've entrusted to their care.
Well, I'm going to go a little deeper on this then, because I'm going to reflect back to myself for a second, because I was texting with somebody earlier today, and they asked me to send them a photo. And really early on in my coming out, I had sent a couple photos, and I was like, I wish I didn't send that photo out, whatever. And then I had photos in my phone, and out of fear, I deleted the photos from my phone. Oh, something's going to happen. Or, there was a time I bought some sexy underwear and some stuff like that. And then, I don't know, it was like in the middle of the night, I was like, oh my God, if I died tonight, my kids are going to have to clean out my house and they're going to find these underwear. And so the next day I threw those underwear away. I've never bought a toy. I was like, I wish I had more freedom, but even though I'm completely out, I still have this fear that I hold on to, and I don't know why, because I really am comfortable with myself. I really don't care who knows, but maybe deep down inside, I don't want them to know too much, or I don't know what it is. So, do you have any fears, any worries, any shames about who you are today? Like with me throwing my stuff away because I'm worried my kids are going to have to clean out my drawers.
Yeah.
It's funny that you talk about that with the drawers, because I've had that same conversation with myself, because I've got that drawer in my nightstand. We all do.
Yeah.
And I've got it bin up on my closet.
I'll tell you which one it is. If I drop dead, you guys can come and clean out
your drawer for you.
Clean out the drawer before somebody else finds it.
But here's the thing. It's my home. It's my drawer.
Yeah.
It's my nightstand. Those are my things. What anyone else thinks about it, it's none of my business.
And you'll be dead. Dead.
Right.
And I'll be dead. Because it'll likely be one of my kids, and they would go, "Oh, I wish I hadn't opened that drawer." But they'll laugh about it, and they'll. I know my kids. I know that's what they'll do, and it'll be okay. And I'll be laughing myself in the other, in the ether around.
Yeah.
Because of course, some of that goes along with it to some extent, and it is what it is. But I don't really feel that shame about those things.
Yeah.
Where I get it though, Brian, is I'm just in the professional world. I am out, very much out. It's just not something that I just handle myself conservatively at work in my professional state, because that's just that's professional Dan, and he's the same guy. And so those kinds of things don't come up. And if they did come up, I imagine I might have a flash of shame or guilt that never goes away completely. The saboteur, which is what the little voice in my head, as I call it, for years, he's still in there. I told him to GTFO years ago, and he's been pretty much gone and pretty quiet. But he's just waiting for that one little crack in the window to sneak himself back in. So, is there a flash of shame or guilt sometimes? Sure. But I would have that about other things, regardless of whether I was gay or not.
And I think
I have those, and I go, as quickly as it comes into my consciousness, it's gone, because I develop coping strategies and develop skills for being proud of the man that I've become.
Right.
Being, this is the guy that I wish Ellen Downs in The Velvet Rage, we talked about that. You guys have heard me talk about, the first step to living an authentic life is, what would the man you wish to become do in this situation? And when you ponder that, then do it. That's been one of my mantras. And so
Yeah.
I'm the man that I had wished to become. And it's like the carrot with the stick out there kind of ahead of me all the time, or the horse, with the stick attached to a carrot attached to a stick. The horse just keeps going after the carrot. That's what I'm doing. I just keep giving new checkpoints for myself along the way. And I find that, those flashes happen, and I can laugh them right off and go, yeah, that, you don't get, saboteur, you don't get to talk today. You've been GTFO for a long time.
Exactly. And that's so key.
Mark, how about you?
Well, yeah, you talk about, you said shame and guilt, and I just want to take a pause for a second, because shame and guilt are two very different things. And I think it's really
fear.
Yes.
But I think it's important to separate them out. Shame is about how you feel about yourself. Guilt is how you feel about something, usually that affects others, right? So
Right.
for me, I really don't feel shame about who I am. And, to your point, Brian, about pictures, toys, things like that, about who I am. It's like, hey, I'm not ashamed of who I am. I'm a gay man, and I'm a sexual being, and no, that doesn't mean that you're going to go flaunting it in inappropriate places.
I'm not putting it on a chain around your neck.
Right, exactly. But and I think also for so many of us coming out later in life, there's a newfound feeling of sexuality and all of that. And we could talk about, body image and all that kind of stuff. But I don't feel shame about who I am, about being gay, about being out at all. Guilt can be a little bit different, and that's definitely something that I think so many of us, especially coming out later in life, feel, because when we make that decision to live our authentic lives, it has dramatic effects on other people.
Yes.
And I'll add, and we've talked about this, for the vast majority of us, it's not like we were living a life to hurt our partners, our kids. It's not like we got into a marriage, as a sham. We had genuine feelings, right? It wasn't right. We had real feelings, real love for the people in our lives. So there is, or can be, a lot of guilt around that. And I'll tell you, from the get-go, my wife would say to me, as difficult as it was for her going through all of this, she would look at me and say to me, you have nothing to be guilty for.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't, it's not like you just chose to be gay. This is, so that recognition, coming from her has really been important. But even to this day, that still creeps up sometimes. And Dan, I like what you said too about the saboteur. That's the other thing, right? That imposter syndrome. Oh, that is so real for so many of us, and I don't think it ever goes away. But I've learned, and Dan, I think as you were saying too, I've learned to be able to know when I'm hearing that in my head, and know, wait, I have a choice here. Am I going to listen to it, or am I not going to listen to it?
Right.
And I can tell it to shut the fuck up.
Exactly. I actually have had moments, and this was early on when I identified my saboteur and kind of was calling him out. I actually had moments where I just yelled at the top of my lungs from my apartment, "Get the fuck out. Just leave me alone."
Mm-hmm.
And it helped for a moment, but it was empowering. But other little things, physiological things. What do you do when you're stressed out? take big, deep breaths and exhale. 3 big breaths and exhale. I've got oxygen pumping to my brain.
Yep.
It's the stress inhibitors are kicking in, and that stress goes away. I've learned to cope with stressful situations and new situations in ways that I never could cope before. These are adaptation skills I've learned in becoming who I am. So it's been for the good, because these things are what help us live a better life, be better humans, be better men.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be better role models.
Be better role models. Because we are,
just be better people. Yeah.
I'm still a role model for my children.
Yes.
And I'm still a role model for my friends. And, I've got some wonderful dear friends in this group in the Gay Dads group that, I joke about, I call them grasshopper, because it's like, patience grasshopper, because they're just early in their years of doing things, but working through these things. And I'm like, yes, you've got it. And I feel like I'm coaching, and more than anything, I'm just listening. I'm just there. Sometimes we just need somebody to sit with us. And when we're sitting alone in our apartments with only our thoughts to work on, it's good to reach out and say, hey, can you just sit with me for a few minutes?
Mm-hmm.
And you just chat about nothing. You don't even know. An hour goes by, and all of a sudden, those feelings of anxiety and worry have passed. And you've built a stronger connection with this person at the other end of the phone, whether it's a fellow dad or a kid or my ex-wife or anybody. It's that human connection is what drives us.
So it comes back to that community, and
does
and you know what? And it doesn't have to be 100 people. It can be 1 or 2 people that right, that are there when you need them. Or I've got a group of people, you guys are amongst them, that, hey, we'll just sometimes text, hey, how are you, right? Or, hey, I had a really shitty day, I just need to vent. And to know that you've got that is incredible. And I gonna come back to, Dan, the point you made, and I know we've made this point before. I never felt like I had any close male friends until I came out. And maybe it's different because of our shared history. People talk about the toxic gay culture all the time. And I'm not going to say there aren't parts of gay culture that can be very toxic, very judgmental. And, but you find the people, you find your community, you find your tribe. Yeah.
I felt like a donkey in a field of horses. And then I found, go over the hill, and there's I'm this unicorn in a field of donkeys, and I go over the hill, and there's this field of unicorns. And the very first GFW Zoom I'll never forget, I was camping in Ohio at a gay campground. It's the first time I'd ever been to one. It was literally 40 degrees, and I'm in a tent sitting outside with my laptop, powered off my phone on the GFW first Zoom. And Sean and Dean and the other guys were just looking at me like, you are a trooper. And I don't even know what I was thinking, but it's finding that community.
Yeah. Dan, we are having such a great time in our conversation. We're going to try, you're going to be our guinea pig here. We're going to do a new segment on the show. Ask us anything. All right. So,
dear.
So a little bit of
this
kind
is for
of
listeners too.
So we want to. So listeners, please write in anything that you would like to ask us, and we'll start addressing these. But so we came up with some questions. So we'll do kind of like a round robin here. I'll kick it off and toss a question to you guys, and then we can each do the same. All right. So, all right, Dan.
Yes.
If you could go back to yourself the year after you came out, what advice would you give?
Breathe. Relax. Slow down. Breathe.
Love it.
This moment will pass, and before you know it, minutes turn into hours, hours into days, days into weeks, weeks in months. And When you're going through the coming out process and you're trying on these new pants in this new life, you got to feel some sense of comfort with who you are. And it takes a while. It's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of trial and error in the gay community, figuring out where you fit in, with your OG people that have been in your life your whole life, and with new people. And how do you let people in? It would just be, don't be so hard on yourself. It's not a race. Relax. Breathe.
Great.
Brian, what about you?
I would tell myself to stay off of social media. Not everything needed to be shared. I shared because I had 2 teenage boys at the time, and I told Mark, TikTok was new, it was COVID was out, and people were posting funny videos, this, that, whatever. And I had gotten a shirt that said "Woke Up Gay Again," and I thought it would be funny to post that on TikTok, and not knowing that my younger son's friends knew my whatever, I kind of outed myself to his friend group, which was hard for him. He was accepting of me, but I don't, his 14-year-old friends and their parents didn't all know about me. And so my advice would be, like you and I had talked about, or we all talked about in the beginning, it's like I wanted to celebrate, but I didn't have an edit button on my celebrating. So that's what I would tell myself. Stay off of social media.
That's good advice.
That's
now that I'm
great
reflecting
advice.
back the last 6 years of social media posts.
Or be careful what you post on social media, definitely.
Yes, yes. Yes.
So,
how about you, Mark?
Well, I was gonna say, so we haven't established the rules. So do we each answer our own question too? I mean,
sure, go
sure,
ahead.
right?
Well,
we can make up whatever rules.
Listen,
we can make up whatever rules we want
answer
because it's
it
our
if the
show.
yes, if the question resonates with you,
Yeah.
then answer it.
No, yeah. So, going back the year I came out, advice I would give, you're gonna be okay. It's gonna be difficult, but you're gonna be okay. And
we're survivors.
And everybody's gonna be okay. The kids will be okay. Your partner's gonna be okay. Your family will be okay. And Dan, I'll add to that too. You hit on this earlier about not worrying what other people think. I mean, that's the other thing too. If somebody's got, I remember saying early on, and this was good advice I gave myself then, I would give it again. It's like, don't worry about what other people think. If somebody's going to have a problem with me because I'm gay, don't make it my problem. That's their problem.
That's such a great question. Yeah. Okay, right. I'm curious. I'll ask the next question. Mark and Brian, what are you still figuring out right now? Start with Brian.
Oof. What am I still figuring? Everything. I'm still figuring out everything. I'm still trying to figure out how to date. I'm trying to figure out what is reality versus what, for 20 years of, dreaming in my head of something that was never going to happen and now it's happening. How much of that can I truly expect to manifest versus how much of that was just a fantasy in my head? So I think I have very high expectations in this community and it doesn't serve me well. And it kind of isolates me a little bit. So that's what I'm still figuring out everything.
Okay, fair enough. Mark?
I would definitely echo that. Still trying to figure out everything because I don't think it's ever all figured out. What does living my life as an out gay man mean? And I'm still trying to figure that out. And I think part of it is also kind of like we were talking before about the letting go of the saboteur, knowing that you don't have to listen to it. Like knowing that I may never have it completely figured out, and that's okay. I kind of came to a realization fairly recently, like I was getting myself anxious since I've been on my own, living by myself, if I wasn't always doing something quote unquote gay, whatever that might be.
Interesting.
Because thinking, wait a minute, I made this major change in my life, you know, left my wife, house, everything, right? Completely changed my life so I could live my authentic gay life. But then I'd realize, wait a minute, what am I doing? I'm sitting here doing my laundry and making dinner. Well, that's not gay. Why did I do,
But it
but
is
realize,
though, Mark. You are living in your home that you created,
right.
that you put together, that you organize, that you've developed your own routines. You are living your own gay life. You're just doing the normal day-to-day crap
That's
that we have
right.
to do.
Exactly. And
Because
that's,
the laundry
and so that's,
still needs to get done. I need underwear.
right.
It gets
Exactly.
dirty.
And I can fold all my sexy underwear any way I want and not worry about it. or have my cleaning lady who loves to do my laundry fold all my sexy laundry and not care.
I had a cleaning lady at my old place, and one time I left something out on the nightstand, and it was put in the drawer after she cleaned the nightstand. Bless her heart. No questions asked.
I may have shared this with you guys offline when this happened a number of months ago. I had a certain piece of clothing, a jock strap that was in my laundry, and she's very particular about things that should or shouldn't go in the dryer. So I had been out, and she had done my laundry. I came back, and she had taken it, and very carefully, she didn't want to put it in the dryer. She very carefully had hung it on a hanger in the shower for it to dry.
Now that's a good cleaning lady.
Oh, she's wonderful. Yes, yeah.
How about you?
Still figuring out. Always looking ahead. Not with I'm not looking for more. I'm not looking for. I'm just looking. I'm always looking out and keeping my eyes open for what's next. And so what I'm still figuring out is that actually I've kind of come to a realization that I'm never going to have it figured out until I'm dead. I'm going to continue to push myself to be a better man, to be a better Dan, if you like that, to be a better person, to be a better dad, to be a better father, son, to be a better friend, and just to be a better human. I live in the light, and I stay away from the dark. I spent so much time in the dark with my saboteur, especially those times coming out. I don't live in that anymore. I spent a lot of time in darkness, but in dark is the darkness. What happens in darkness is fear, and it's just about light and fear. I've been reading a lot of great spiritual stuff. I'm right in the middle of Oprah's Super Soul Sundays book, and she talks a lot about the light and the dark, and about God and the divine and all those things, and so I just continue to try to figure out how I can live more in the light.
All right.
Love that.
What surprised you about the gay culture, Mark?
What has surprised me about gay culture is that I think it's very hard to define gay culture. It's not one thing. Everybody, people talk about the gay community, gay culture. Is there one straight culture? Is there one straight community? I mean, it's made up of all different kinds of people, right? So, I think that's been a. I don't want to say it's been like, oh my God, so surprising, but it's been a revelation, or starting to recognize that, and learning to say, hey, let me find. You don't have to be. What does it mean to be gay? You can be whoever you are, and find your part of that gay community, of that gay culture. But, and this is my observation, others might disagree. What I will say, I think even if it's people that maybe you're never going to be best friends with, you're not, they only like twinks or what have you, and they don't like old guys, or they whatever it is, right? You've got all of those like subcultures. I find when I am in a gay space, whether it's a bar, a club, or even just like being in gay neighborhoods, there is still a sense of community, and we're all part of this. It was, for example, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about this, I think, before we hit the record button. The shirt I'm wearing today, that says gay on it, not gat, if it was partially covered by my sweatshirt. This design, this sweatshirt was the original, this t-shirt rather, is the original design from one of the very first Pride marches that they had down on Christopher Street after Stonewall in New York City. And 2 weeks ago, I attended the flag re-raising after the Trump regime took down the flag at the Stonewall National Monument. And I'm sharing this because about, kind of gay culture. It was a mix of old, young, gay, lesbians, trans, allies, all coming together to say, we've got to fight for this community to be heard. We're not going to be silenced. Yeah. And knowing that as different as everybody can be, when things need to come together, they do.
Wow. Well put. Dan, what about you? What surprised you?
How truly complex and expansive the gay community is. To be able to find not just my tribe among other, gay men, older gay men, but to find a tribe of people who I relate to so closely. I see that throughout the gay community, people find their people. And we're an accepting community. I've been somewhat surprised by and I've heard you guys talk about this on previous broadcasts about about some pettiness and some deep superficiality within a number of people, the level of judgment of one another when, I'm just trying to be myself and be who I was born to be, just like you are. And to have that be looked at and ostracized and judged, I see that more. I see that as common in the gay community as I see it in the hetero community. I come out and people, I don't like gay people, or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just, so I'm surprised by that. But that's human nature. It doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, bi, lesbian. It doesn't matter. It's human nature. We judge. We look at things at face value. We have our own implicit biases that that drive everything that make us think. And so sometimes you have to just I have to step back and realize, okay, this is just society. This is culture. Yeah. Gay culture, straight culture, doesn't matter. People are judgy at times. People can be really cruel to one another at times. And so I've seen that. So that part, what surprised me about that was that was really no different than regular culture. I don't know why I would be surprised, but I just assumed because we were othered, because we are all part of a group, a minority in this world. And so instead of, coming together, and I think we do really, really well, as you explained at the Stonewall Monument, it's so heartening to hear those kinds of stories and all the movement that's been happening within the gay community as, we start to see some rights being maybe chiseled away a little bit. And I'm grateful that still remains. Mm. I don't know if I really answered your question.
Yeah, or not. Absolutely.
I kind of went around, but yes. It's just the same as the straight culture.
Yeah.
I had written down the word vast, and it's kind of something you both kind of touched on. I didn't really have exposure to the gay community at all, other than through hotel porn when I was traveling. So that was all of my experience with the gay community. So I wasn't aware that there was so many different groups and fetishes and kinks and everything that was happening. But one of the things that surprised me was, I guess the most, is to find out that I wasn't alone. I struggled with my sexuality my
Yeah.
entire life.
Yeah.
And when I came out and when I came into this community, I found that just in talking to somebody on the street, you can kind of like sense some sexual friction with that person when I would never have, had that before, or have people reach out to me and talk to me, and they're closeted and they're married, and it wasn't, I didn't know that that existed. I thought it was just me.
Just
Yeah.
me.
So to know that there's so many people out there
Absolutely.
struggling with their sexuality is like, huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll add to that. It's unfortunate when you realize it,
Yeah.
right? But in other ways, it's also very comforting. Because I remember
Yes.
feeling exactly the same way when I really first came out to myself, feeling like, am I the only person? Then realizing, wait a minute,
Yes.
there is a vast, vast community of people, mostly I'll say men, because I think primarily men, but not exclusively. I don't want to, but that are living in hiding in secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all felt like we were the only ones in the world that have ever
Yeah.
experienced this, and to be able to share that with others who were going through the same thing. When
Yeah.
I go back to those Zooms, those, I don't know any of those people, though. They're all perfect strangers, and there were men and women and non-binary and trans, lots of people, all different types of people from the queer community on that Zoom. And here, I'm just this 50-year-old guy who is struggling with my sexuality, and to be able to have those conversations. But I realized these other people are having exactly the same feelings of aloneness, not loneliness, but aloneness. And
Yeah. Yeah.
nobody's ever had to go through this before, and nobody ever that I know has been through this, and so I got to go through it on my own, and I got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. But then when we find community, when we find one another, we can you have a friend, you have a phone a friend, you have somebody that can sit with you on those days when you're feeling pretty lonely.
Yeah.
Getting past the loneliness coming out was something that I had to learn how to do. And we've talked with both of you guys about this before. Just how do I live alone and be alone without being lonely? I'd never lived alone my whole life. I moved out of my
Right.
parents' house at 22. I got married. I had children. I'd never had lived alone, even though I always wanted to. I never lived alone in my whole life. And so to have that opportunity now, I had to figure out how to be alone without being lonely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was me too. I went from
Yeah.
living with my parents to living with my girlfriend, who became my wife, but I hadn't lived alone until I was 50 years old.
Yeah.
Right? Same.
Yeah.
Oh.
Same. I mean, I had a period of about 6 months when I was living on my own, and then I met my wife. She moved in 6 months later, and yeah. And then suddenly starting to learn how to live. And I like what you said, Dan, living to be alone. There's a difference between being able to be alone and being lonely. They're not the same thing.
Yes.
And I've learned to actually like it. I really enjoy it.
I love being alone. I love my quiet
Yeah.
nights at home where I can flip on whatever or eat a whole
I know you're
DiGiorno.
flipping on whatever. I know.
Yeah. I think this is probably a good point
good.
to wrap it up. And again, to our listeners, wherever you listen to us on whatever platform, like it, comment, write into us at cominginsideout@gmail.com. And for our new segment, Ask Us Anything, write in, ask us a question. So
Yeah.
thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
All right.
And thank you for the invitation to be here and be with you guys today and just spend this hour together talking about this topic. It's so important because we don't know who we're helping. We don't know who's struggling right now and who may be hearing this, and it might be hearing it for the first time with new ears. And so, let's hope that we are making a difference. I listen to every podcast you guys do. I love it. I don't miss it. And as you know, because I text you right afterwards, and I'm just grateful to be part of this today. So thank you for that.
Well, thanks, Dan,
Absolutely.
for being here. We really, really appreciate it. Great conversation.
Yes. All right.
All right.